Ready to take your favorite WagerTalk handicappers wherever you travel this football season? The WagerTalk TV app is now live for phones, tablets, smart TVs, and streaming platforms. Tune into your favorite shows like WagerTalk Today, Bet on It, and the Opening Line Report, plus browse through our extensive library of sports betting tips. Create your personal playlist of betting tip videos to help you prepare for the upcoming season, and set notifications to alert you when new content is added. Download the app for Apple, Android, Amazon, and Roku devices by searching for WagerTalk TV, or scan the QR code on your screen to join the winning conversation today.
Hey guys, welcome in on a very happy Wednesday to you now here as January the 25th, 2023 is upon us. Yep, it's flying by here, guys. February will be here, and before we know it, March Madness will be here, but we've got plenty of college basketball conference action to get to before then, and some great matchups tonight around the country. We're going to break a few of these games down, see if we can't find a couple of spots that we like, and we're going to do it with three of the hottest and most profitable hoops cappers over at WagerTalk.com as the man refuses to lose. Drew Martin back in the house, man, ready to roll, keeping things profitable to say the least. Trig, not actually at a gym near you. He is actually hanging with us here back
tomorrow
in the studio. Well, tomorrow. See, there you go. And 2 R's and 1 L. Steve Merrill also on a ridiculous run. All three of these guys, they are locked and loaded, ready to go. Drew, I believe you continuing just to cash tickets. What now? A 6-0 run where we're at here again. You got a 5% best bet up and available now at WagerTalk.com. What else is happening?
Yeah, Joe, I got the max limit up for tonight, and keep rolling that dice, Joe. When you're seeing it clearly, let it fly. And we got a good one going tonight. And you bring up March Madness in the intro, Joe. Some of the teams we're talking about tonight, some are going to be in March Madness, and some right there on the bubble. So some important games. Excited to be on with you, Joe.
Yeah, no, great stuff here. We got some college basketball and some tickets to cash here over the next couple of weeks because it's at that time, Drew. And you know this, Trig. Some teams still a little undervalued with the market. I don't know how much longer that'll last, but there are certainly some very profitable spots on the board this week, and especially this weekend. You got anything locked and loaded, ready to go tonight at Wager Talk?
Yeah, I do. I have 3 plays today. I'm going to give one out on the show. Another one, the one that's up for sale earlier today, got moved up to 5 o'clock. That's the Albany, New Hampshire game. I have a best bet in that game. So if you're looking for early action, the one that is up on my page for sale is that one. But I also have a special. It's the month of February, all access. And if you get it now, you get the rest of January for free. No coupon needed. That's just up on my page. So go check that out. Like I said, 13 and 5 running college basketball. And I got 3 best bets for Wednesday. One I'm going to give you at the end of the show. And the other 2 you can get on my page at WagerTalk.
All right, there you go. Opportunities presenting themselves. Merrill, quite the role. I think about last year we had you on. Last week rather. You were crushing it, and you were being selective too, which has been paying off. What's going on this week at WagerTalk.com?
Yeah, one thing I love, Joe, about college hoops, especially college hoops, NBA too, but I mean, there's so many games to choose from, and it can be a good or bad thing, right? You can overwhelm yourself by trying to handicap all 363 Division I teams, or you can pick your spots, and that's what I've done really well over the years in college hoops. We had one play last night, an outright underdog winner of Georgetown, didn't even need the points. That brings us to 16-5 over the past week, all sports. Longer term now up 117 units on NBA and college sides alone the last couple years. Also, NFL has been really strong this year. up over 69 units on NFL and college football sides. And I bring that up because I do have a rare 5% best bet for the conference championship round this Sunday. It's locked and loaded right now. It's backed by a 21-0 super situation, 5% NFL. Now, you can get that for 35. You get 1 month of college hoops for 179, 1 month of the NBA for 179, or get everything for the next month for just 199. But you have to have a promo code, all199, ALL199, all199 gets the next 30 days of basketball and football, including the 5%er, for just 199. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
All right, there you go, guys. 3 great opportunities to make it one hell of a profitable Wednesday. Now let's see if we can find some spots in these games here today. And we're going to start in Orlando as the UCF Knights welcome in the loser Houston team. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, Robert. Houston coming to town off a very rare loss against Temple their last game out. 128 is the total here. Houston up to double digits now, laying 10, 7 o'clock Eastern time. We did see this matchup once already. I believe it was late December. Intriguing matchup. It was one where both teams took some haymakers at one another. Houston prevailed. What do you think we get for the rematch here, Drew, tonight? Should be an interesting one.
Yeah, Joe, sidewise here in Orlando, it's almost a tricky handicap for me. You mentioned, Houston, great team. I mean, this is a national championship possibility in terms of Houston making it there, Final Four type team. But off of a loss against Temple, that 1-point loss, they're 18-2 on the year. Up against UCF, Johnny Dawkins' squad, they've lost, 2 of their last 4 games as well. And they lost their last game to USF in the war on I-4 by 13 points. Didn't look very good. So I don't necessarily want to lay double digits here on the road in Orlando against a UCF team where this game's important for them. They're one of the teams where you could see them on the bubble come March. So this is a big game. I think they're going to be ready to play. It's just Houston is really good, Joe. Instead, I'm going to go after this from a totals perspective. Both teams very good on the defensive end, and both have trended to the under, and they both play slow-paced type of games. So getting them to flirt with 130 points tonight, I think it's actually a low-scoring defensive battle. I think Houston wins, but even more so, I like the under of 128.
All right, looking at the under here in this one. I mean, UCF did give them some fits the first time around, mostly because they're one of the tallest teams in the country here, and Houston is a lot of things. The biggest team, not necessarily. Everyone thinks it's a bounce-back spot. What do you think here, Trig?
Well, some of that height is not going to be there tonight because it looks like Michael Durr's out for Central Florida. Darius Johnson also missed the last game. He's probably out again. I think those two were probably a big reason that UCF looked so bad in that South Florida game. I am still, even with the loss, listen, the AAC, it might not be the Big East, it might not be the Big 12. It's still a good conference, and you're still going to have a scenario where, it's hard to show up every single night. And do I think it's insane that Houston lost as a 20-point favorite? Yes. But that doesn't really change my opinion on Houston being arguably the best team in the country, if not the best, maybe the top 3. I still think Houston, I said it at the beginning of the season, CT Betts and I have a nice futures ticket on Houston to win the whole thing. I still think that this is as elite of a team as you're going to find in college basketball. So even with the number where it is now, I wouldn't be trying to put someone on Central Florida here. I would have loved it didn't open at 7 many places, but I think DraftKings had a 7. Some other places had 8. It's now up to 10. Guys, I still kind of like 10. Knowing UCF's going to be without a couple players, I still think 10 is probably fine here. This screams bounce back spot for Houston, an elite team, in my opinion, one of the elite teams in college basketball. If I was going to bet this game, I would lay the points. I'll be shocked if Houston doesn't win this one by double digits. Not my usual style, Joe, to just come out and lay 10, but I really am that high on Houston this year, and it's the only way I could bet this game would be to lay the number with the Cougars.
Yeah, it looks like, Darius Johnson's been, since January 4th? He's got that foot injury, and We're going to see if they can adjust and get up here tonight for a Houston team that is probably really pissed off, Merrill. But to Drew's point, this is going to be like watching paint dry this game, and I got to lay double digits. So, usually that's a recipe for disaster. How do you look at this game here tonight?
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Darius Johnson since what you said, January 4th, because these teams played December 31st, right before that, and he had 17 points in 37 minutes. So obviously was a key contributor in what was only a 6-point loss, as about a 15-point dog on the road. I actually like the fact that Central Florida played them tight. You could make two cases here. They played them tight. They can hang again. I don't think that's the case here. We talk about revenge a lot in college basketball. It is a great angle, but basically everyone who Houston's playing the second time around is going to have revenge this year because Houston pretty much beats everyone except for Temple and Alabama, of course, which is a non-conference game. So I don't think the Cougars are going to overlook the Knights because it was a close win, a game in which, by the way, they were up by 8 at halftime, but then they got outscored in the second half. Did not shoot well in that game at all. And that's another reason I like Houston in the bounce back here. They only shot 37.5% in that near win earlier back on December 31st. And like them even more because they only shot 34% against Temple on Sunday. And by the way, as the number one ranked AP team as a 19-point favorite, that was the biggest upset since Duke lost back in November of 19 as a 27.5-point favorite against Stephen F. Austin. Remember that one at the start of the season a few years back. So I think this is a huge bounce back spot for Houston. As Adam mentioned, the line has risen quickly from that 7-8 up to 10. But as you guys have talked about, they are a little shorthanded. I like the spot. And Houston is the only way I would play this one tonight.
All right, Houston, it is here. We got a little under, and we got Houston to handle business on a shorthanded UCF squad. We have, of course, the late night degenerate special for you. One of our absolute favorite games of the week there, Drew Martin, where we got 11 o'clock Eastern time tips there on a Wednesday night, and San Diego State laying 7. Taking on Utah State, the total 146.5. And boy, oh boy, the Mountain West is a pretty damn interesting conference here this year. Maybe one of the more entertaining games we watched, Drew, during this week was what was going on there with that last New Mexico game in Nevada. That was just all sorts of fun watching it go to triple overtime. Tell me what you think about this matchup here. San Diego State at home, you laying it?
Yeah, in Viejas Arena. I was looking to get on them. I mean, you bring up the Mountain West here, Joe. Interesting conference. And also interesting is San Diego State sitting at the top of the conference here, 6-1 in the conference standings. However, they haven't been all that great of a bet, just 6-12 against the spread. Where I think the matchup's going to be very important tonight is 3-point shooting. Of course, Utah State, excuse me, number 1 3-point shooting team in the country. Top 5 in effective field goal percentage, Joe. Can San Diego State kind of stop that at the 3-point line? Their 3-point defense is pretty good. That tends to carry, and them being at home could be a tough place to play. Late night degenerate special, like you talked about. 16-4 Utah State. I just couldn't get there getting on the dog. I think Utah State is the more talented team, but they've lost 3 straight against the spread, 4 of the last 5. It kind of speaks to them being a little bit overpriced. So as much as I want to get down on the last game on the card, I really couldn't find anything, Joe. So this is a pass for me.
So what do we do with this Utah State team here, Trig, on the road, coming off that, well, they almost blew it against San Jose State here. What do you think we're going to get here tonight? Can they keep it within this number?
Joe, they can if they hit their threes. This is essentially Rutgers Penn State from last night. Actually, CT Bets called me yesterday, and I keep shouting him out. That's Chris Thurston. He'll be on with me and Drew tonight on The Hustle at 6 p.m. on WagerTalk TV. He said, Trig, why are we not betting Rutgers? And I said, I don't know. Penn State, I'm worried they can just kind of shoot over the Rutgers defense and hang around. They didn't. Rutgers won by 20. And I look at this, and it's the same game, okay? If Utah State can make their threes, they're probably going to hang around in this game. If they can't, they're probably going to get blown out. And I actually lean toward the latter because I trust San Diego State's defense to force them into tough shots, similar to what Rutgers did against Penn State. And for me, San Diego State, they're another team that I had coming into the season as an elite I think they're the best team in the Mountain West. So they're a team that at home I'm comfortable laying the number with, especially when it's going to be a game where if Utah State is not making their threes, they'll lose this. It's not going to be like a 7-point game. It's going to be like a 15 to 20-point game, in my opinion. So because I don't really want to mess with Drew already mentioned it. Utah State can hit the three. And if they're falling, it's going to be a close game. I don't want to mess with that. But if I was going to bet this game, I trust the home team more here to sort of exert their will on the defensive end and pull away in this one. I trust them more than I would trust Utah State to just knock down a bunch of threes on the road and stay in this game. So San Diego State is the lean for me here, but not something that's going to make my card.
Well, it's an intriguing match. I mean, he's right, Merrill, that Utah State, when they are, they can pop a lot of threes. They're a little reliant on the three ball, but San Diego State, they're pretty damn good in defending the perimeter here. So something's got to give tonight. Who do you give the edge to?
Yeah, a lot of times, 3-point shooting is random variance, but now that these teams have played 20 and 19 games each, I think we can say Utah State is a very good 3-point shooting team. They do take advantage of the thin air and altitude, though. They shoot like 45% at home, 38.5% on the road. Still very good numbers either way, but something to keep in mind. And San Diego State has allowed just 31 against teams that average almost 35. They've given up just 29.5% at home. So this is a good matchup, at least defensively, for San Diego State. And they also rank as the much more efficient defense, about 60, 70 points higher in the rankings that I'm looking at. So we get the better defensive team at home. Now the question is, can they win by margin? So I would lean San Diego State. 7 is a hefty number here. Impressed that they went on the road, though, and won in 2 altitude games. I was going to say earlier, if this game was at Utah State, I would have really thought there was some home court advantage, but that might not have been the case because San Diego State won outright at Colorado State and at Air Force. Now, granted, they barely covered by a point in each game. They were road favorites. I think there could be some tempo in this game. Utah State plays very fast. They shoot up those threes pretty quickly. San Diego State, as we've talked a lot out on the shows this year, is a much different team tempo-wise than in years past, and they do play in the upper third in the country right now. So I think this is an opportunity for San Diego State to run because I know Utah State wants to, and I think the over could be worth a look here. It's obviously very high for recent series history. It's in the 129 range last year. Now it's 146.5, but I think that tells you this is a different style of game tonight, and I think both teams can put up some points.
All right. Well, let's see if we can get some points in this one. Should be interesting there. San Diego State taking on Utah State, 11 o'clock Eastern time tip. We've got one other game here we're going to take a look at tonight, and yeah, this should be fun. How about UConn hosting Xavier, and UConn 6.5 UConn is laying against Sean Miller and the crew there. 154 is that total. 6:30 Eastern time tip here. This is going to be an interesting game here for the Big East. Love this Xavier team, but do we trust them on the road, even though they're getting 6.5? What do you think, Drew?
Sidewise, if we need a bet in this game, I do think you trust Xavier here. I mean, last time they played, Xavier won by 10 points. Granted, that was at home. Now, both of these two teams are good, Joe. You kind of let in with that 16-4 Xavier, 16-5 UConn. Two teams going to have their eye on the Final Four here. But of recent, Xavier's been the better team, winning 12 of their last 13 games, whereas UConn's lost 3 of 4, 5 of 7, actually. So not playing very good basketball. So sidewise, it points me towards Xavier. I just, the profile of going up against UConn at home, I don't really like that. Even more so, Joe, I bet this total, and I like it to the over. Both of these two teams have trended to the over big time, almost 2-1 in terms of their total games. We have Xavier 14-5 to the over. We have UConn 13-8 to the over. So combined, that's 67% to the over. I think it's more of the same. It hit over in the last game that they played on New Year's Eve. I would bet this one to the over, Joe, over 154.
Yeah, not a shock there. I mean, I cleaned my eyes like 3 times, Trig, this morning when I looked. I'm like, wait a minute, does that say 7.5? Like, what in the world is going on? And then immediately I'm going, all right, something going on here. Neutral court how far apart are these teams in your opinion? And is there any value backing Xavier?
Oh, there's definitely value backing Xavier. Neutral court, I don't make him very different. I've been extremely high on Xavier since before the season. They were sort of my like dark horse pick in my write up that I did on the Big East before the season to win the Big East, and now they're right in the mix. So neutral court, I love. I would love the matchup for Xavier. Of course, they won the first meeting. I will point out this is at Gamble Pavilion. My cousin went to UConn, and her dorm was essentially across the parking lot from Gamble, whereas the XL Center's in downtown Hartford. So I always add I always add a point, maybe a point and a half for home court when UConn plays at Gamble, because the kids can get there so much easier than they can going down. The XL Center is in the middle of Hartford. It's downtown. It's kind of a pain to get to from campus. I feel like they do that more for the just the ridiculous amount of UConn alumni that's in the Hartford area. So the crowd's going to be into this one because it's the rare Big East home game against a ranked opponent on campus at Gamble. But that still is not enough to get me to lay this number with UConn. I love this Xavier team. I've been saying it since the beginning of the season that Sean Miller was going to have a squad there, and he certainly does. He's an excellent coach. I think Sule Boom has been a great addition to the team. There's no way I'm going to lay this number against Xavier, but I tend to want to back UConn when they play at Gamble in a big game like this. This is just too many points for me. I would lean Xavier as well.
All right, leaning Xavier. I mean, I love Drew's over. My first reaction, Merrill, was give me the points with Xavier. If they're as good as I think they are, this one might come down to the final bucket. But listen, the market has come back a little bit here. Who do you give the edge to in this one?
Yeah, first of all, I actually did my top 25 video for Wednesday, and there was only one head-to-head top 25 matchup tonight or tomorrow. And as I said earlier, I'm selective in college hoops, right? I never force anything. So this was the game I spotlighted. So if people would like some in-depth analysis, check that out here on WagerTalk TV. My top 25 preview is this game. And one thing I pointed out was that we've got a good-sized dog that's ranked higher. Xavier, what are they, 13th? UConn 19th. But then you go look at the Ken Palms. UConn is 5th or 6th, I believe. They're 5th in the Sagarin. They're 6th in the Ken Palms. Xavier is 23rd in Ken Palm. They're 21st in the Predictor Rater in Sagarin. So, this is one of those sneaky situations here. I don't get a lot of public consensus data, but it does seem like, people are going to be on Xavier. In fact, one site I look at had about 68% on the dog here, which is a pretty public indicator. I'm always afraid of those public dogs. So I'll take a contrarian view with UConn. I do love the revenge setup here, and that was something that made my short list here. But the reason I left this off the card, as I mentioned in the video, is Xavier really outplayed him in the earlier game. It wasn't a fluke win. I would have liked to see maybe a misleading box score from that meeting on December 31st on New Year's Eve, but that wasn't the case. And what concerns me about that first meeting about 4 weeks ago is that UConn made 9 more three-pointers than Xavier, and they still lost by 10. That means they got outscored by 37 points from non-three-point range. And two-pointers and free throws are a lot more consistent than three-pointers. So that's a huge red flag. UConn was only 4 for 9 from the free throw line. Xavier was 23 for 28. Points in the paint, obviously a huge edge down low. With that said, though, this is a home game for UConn. I love the arena analysis from Adam Trigger, and that actually gets me liking UConn a little bit more. I hadn't really thought of that angle. And it also means I don't think they're going to have a 28-9 free throw attempt deficit tonight. So I'll lean UConn here, a little bit of an under-the-radar, fade-the-public type college hoops pick.
All right. Well, it should be a good one. There's a lot of really interesting and intriguing games here. And love this card tonight. But now it is time to figure out if there is a game these guys like a little bit more than the rest. So, Drew, kick us off here, man. And again, 5% best bet in college basketball available at Drew's page right now tonight on a crazy 6-0 run here in college hoops. So tell me, what are we looking at here, Drew, tonight for the show?
Yeah, Joe, going to the game we talked about at the top here, Houston at UCF. I think Houston wins this game, guys, but laying doubles in a low possession game, I don't really like that profile. So even more so, I bet this under 128 still out there. It looks like 127.5 now at most sports books. Both slow-paced teams, good on the defensive end. And UCF a little bit banged up right now. So I think they're going to have a tough time scoring. Houston off of the loss, I think they win. However, just scoring 55 points last time out. This game stays under 128, Joe. So Houston, UCF, under 128 for me.
Yeah. Ain't broke, don't fix it. There you go. Going under, which is shocker. Stop me if you've heard that one before. Talk to me here, Trig. Which one of these games? I know you got a few games locked and loaded, ready to go here tonight. Tell us one for the show.
Yeah, so I'll give one of my 3-4% best bets for Wednesday. It's going to be Rhode Island +9. Guys, I saw Dayton play in person earlier this year, way back when they played UNLV at the Thomas and Mack Center, and still I've seen 13 games in 13 different arenas, a bunch of different teams, and Dayton is still one of the most underwhelming teams I've seen in relation to what they were supposed to be this year. They were a ranked team way back in November. Got beat in that game by UNLV, haven't cracked the top 25 since. They've had some injuries, and I think this got bet up by based on the fact that Malachi Smith and Kobe Elvis are back. But I just don't think that them coming back, neither having played since November, they both played in the loss against George Washington over the weekend. I just don't think those two back is just a guaranteed fix for this Dayton team. They turn the ball over. They don't shoot the three particularly well. Their ball handling is very, very questionable. And neither were just like bona fide players last year. They were both, Smith played about 30 minutes a game, averaged like 9 points a game. They really expected him to take a step forward, but he hasn't played since November. So I just don't know that him coming back is a guaranteed, like Dayton's all of a sudden good just because he's back type scenario. They're on the road where they're 2-3 this year. Rhode Island, listen, like this is not on paper, going to jump off the page as an impressive team. Archie Miller's first season there, so he's in kind of a rebuild. But Rhode Island's always tricky at home. They haven't won a true road game yet this year, but they're 5-5 at home, and that can be like an interesting little home court, advantage. Rhode Island typically plays well there, and they can mess this game up enough where 9 points is just, in my opinion, way too many. I mean, I don't have George Washington and Rhode Island rated all that differently, yet, Dayton just lost as an 8-point favorite on the road against George Washington. Now they come back. They're a 9-point favorite on the road to Rhode Island. I just don't see where Dayton wins this game on the road by double digits. I think they'll be fortunate to get out of there with the win, to be honest, guys. I haven't been impressed with Dayton all year. They do things that don't tend to cover margin, like miss free throws and turn the ball over. I'll roll the dice with Rhode Island at home. They're typically a live dog down in Kingston, Rhode Island there, Joe. I'll take the points. Rhode Island +9, 4% best bet for me.
All right, there you go. Get it done. Rhode Island here tonight. And Merrill, I know you're ready to roll here tonight. A lot of games in the NBA, of course, college hoops, great cards in both here tonight. You talked about NFL play, ready to rock, 5%. Give us a show best bet tonight we can take a look at.
Yeah, we're going to get to a free college basketball play on the late card for Wednesday night. Free college hoops play here in just a moment for Wednesday night. Quick reminder, I've got 3 different sports covered right now for Wednesday. NFL goes this weekend, but you don't want to wait because that's a 5% or my only 5% NFL playoff best bet backed by a 21-0 super situation. Also an NBA and college hoops best bet tonight on Wednesday. 16-5 run over the past week. All sports is clicking on all cylinders, so why not get the next month and save an instant $100 right away with promo code ALL199. Normally it's $300 for a month of all sports. With ALL199, you get the next 30 days and nights for just $199. That's every college and pro hoops play. The rest of the NFL through the Super Bowl, including that $35 5%er right now. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Got to have that promo, ALL199. Let's look at a free play for tonight on Wednesday in college hoops. Chicago State at Stanford. When I first saw this, I thought the live odds screen, the WagerTalk live odds screen had made a typo. But it's right. Chicago State, for some random reason, is playing in the middle of the Pac-12 tonight. Normally, you'd say this is a flat spot for Stanford, but I don't think that's the case here. Stanford has vastly underachieved this season, just 7-12 straight up, just 5-4 at home. So they would love the opportunity to beat up on a weakling at home, and they've done that recently. In fact, the last 2 times this season, they've been a big home favorite. Was a couple games ago. They beat Oregon State by 21, laying 11, and back in mid-December, they beat Wisconsin Green Bay by 45, laying 24.5. Chicago State's worse than both of those teams. I don't think Stanford overlooks this game tonight, and this has blowout written all over it. Stanford Cardinal minus the 18. Lay it if you're going to play it. That goes at 10 o'clock Eastern Wednesday. 3 strong best bets right now on my page, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com.
Boom! Opportunities presenting themselves here, guys, including with our friends at the Gold Sheet. And yeah, they got to play here tonight. They're going to take a look at Lehigh. They're going to lay the points at Holy Cross here today. As they've pointed out, Lehigh has won, what, 6 in a row now, including let's see, an 18-point win over Holy Cross. They're also top 15 in the country in three-point shooting. And, of course, Holy Cross is one of the worst rebounding teams in the Patriot League. So when you look at it, you put it all together, Lehigh is the spot, and that's where our friends from the Gold Sheets are going to go with here tonight. I'm going to go ACC here tonight, and I'm going to fade Pitt. I'm going to back Wake Forest getting points here tonight. I do think that styles make fights here, and I think this is a good opportunity. These two teams don't play each other an awful lot, but these two teams here tonight, I think style's all about fight here. I watched Pitt have an awful lot of issues against a team like, let's see, Florida State, Clemson, teams that can stretch the floor and pull up and hit threes, forcing their big men to have to go out and defend the three. It usually doesn't end well for them. I don't think it's going to end. I don't think it's going to end well for Pitt here tonight. I'll take the three. I think Wake is going to win this game outright. So I got no problem backing the 3 points against Pitt tonight. And to recap one more time, what we got rolling here tonight, guys, is Drew Martin. He going under with Houston and UCF, while Trigg, he's back in Rhode Island, +9. Merrill is going Stanford by 1,000,000. I'm going to back the dog, Wake Forest, taking on Pitt here tonight. And our friends from the Gold Shit, they like Lehigh tonight. It's a small number, lane 3 against Holy Cross. And don't forget, head over to WagerTalk.com. Guys, visit all 3 of these guys. They've got their plays locked, loaded, and ready to go. Make sure you come back, join us again tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. And on behalf of Drew, Steve Merrill, and Adam Traeger, guys, we appreciate the time. Best of luck with all your plays tonight, guys. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Good luck.
Ready to take your favorite WagerTalk handicappers wherever you travel this football season? The WagerTalk TV app is now live for phones, tablets, smart TVs, and streaming platforms. Tune into your favorite shows like WagerTalk Today, Bet On It, and the Opening Line Report. Plus, browse through our extensive library of sports betting tips. Create your personal playlist of betting tip videos to help you prepare for the upcoming season, and set notifications to alert you when new content is added. Download the app for Apple, Android, Amazon, and Roku devices by searching for WagerTalk TV, or scan the QR code on your screen to join the winning conversation today.